Okay, so Shannon Sharpe, obviously a huge name, NFL legend, now crushing it on ESPN's First Take.
Yeah, absolutely. But things have gotten, well, pretty serious
It
lately.
gets serious. He's facing this civil lawsuit filed in Nevada. It's by a woman who's proceeding as Jane Doe, for now anyway.
And the allegations are heavy hitters. Sexual assault, battery, sexual battery, all supposedly happening late last year, early this year.
Right, end of 2024, start of 2025. And it's not just that. The suit also claims intentional infliction of emotional distress. She's seeking $50 million.
Wow, 50 million.
Yeah.
And what's really striking is how public and how fast this all seems to be playing out.
Totally. So today we're going to kind of unpack this. We've got transcripts from a few key YouTube takes. Stephen A. Smith, obviously, HYP plus SGA, and Ticket TV.
Right. The idea is to get beyond just the headlines, look at these different perspectives and see, what really stands out. What are the narratives being built?
Exactly. And we should mention the attorney for Jane Doe, Tony Busby. He's kind of a big name in these situations.
Yeah, he's definitely been involved in some high-profile cases before.
You might remember suits against Jay-Z, P. Diddy, those involved alleged sexual assault of a minor. The Jay-Z one got dropped. Then there was a countersuit.
And Deshaun Watson, right. He represented, what, like 24 women? Most of those cases settled, I believe?
Yeah, at least 23 settled out of 27 women alleging misconduct. So Busby has experience here.
Definitely. And it's probably important to clarify something, too.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
The plaintiff here, Jane Doe, is not the same woman from that accidental Instagram live stream Sharpe did last September.
Oh, absolutely crucial distinction. Good point. This is a completely separate situation, different person, different allegations.
Right. So we're dealing with a totally fresh set of claims.
Okay, so the lawsuit drops. What happens next? Sharpe and his team, they basically go on the attack almost immediately.
Yeah. They release these alleged text messages, supposedly between Sharpe and Jane Doe. And they are explicit.
Right. And along with the texts, a really strong statement, calling the lawsuit, quote, a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars.
Strong language. They labeled the claims lies, distortions, and misrepresentations. Basically, it said it was all cooked up by Gabrielle Zuniga, who they identify as Jane Doe and Tony Busby.
So they named her Gabriella Zuniga, also known apparently as Carly on OnlyFans. Sharpe's statement directly accuses her and Busby of wanting the $50 million.
And he didn't stop there, right?
Eh.
Said he plans to sue them for defamation.
Yeah. He insists the whole encounter was consensual, happened during the day, she invited him, it was all a setup. That's his claim.
And then he threw down a challenge.
The video, yeah. He challenged Tony Busby to release the full video of their encounter. Said he doesn't even have it himself.
Which is interesting. It suggests, maybe he thinks a full context helps him. Or maybe just muddies the waters.
Could be. Denying he has it also raises questions like, well, who recorded it then and why?
Exactly. So Busby's response wasn't to release a video, but audio.
Right. He sends TMZ Sports this audio clip. It's about a minute and 36 seconds long. Supposedly a conversation between Jane Doe and Shannon Sharpe.
And the key part, the bit everyone picked up on, is a male voice saying, I will choke the hell out of you if I saw you.
Oof. Yeah, that definitely lands differently than text messages about consensual acts. It feels like a direct counterpunch to Sharpe releasing the texts.
Busby basically said as much to TMZ. He claimed he released it because Sharpe's lawyer, Lonnie Davis, tried to discredit his client with those texts, which, crucially, he says, were dated before the alleged assault.
Okay, so the timing is key there. Lauren Laroa from The Breakfast Club reported Busby saying, I'm not trying this case in the press, but, we release this only because Sharpe's lawyer chose to attempt to discredit and dox Jane Doe by releasing multiple texts with no context.
And he questioned if all the texts around those released messages were actually shown. He sort of implied maybe there's more to it.
He finished by saying, the audio is clear, it speaks for itself.
So Busby's strategy seems to be control the damage from the texts, introduce this potentially threatening audio, and question the context Sharpe provided, trying to swing the narrative back.
But Shannon Sharpe wasn't done responding either. He puts out this video specifically about the leaked audio.
And he doubled down on the shakedown claim.
Yep, stuck right to that. But then he kind of escalated it.
How so?
He accused Tony Busby of, quote, targeting black men. He brought up Busby's past cases, like the Jay-Z one.
Wow, okay. Bringing race into it directly, that definitely broadens the frame of the argument.
And he also suggested Busby might release like a short 30-second clip from a sex tape just to make him look guilty and play into, stereotypes.
So trying to preemptively discredit any potential video evidence that might surface later, it's a very aggressive defense strategy.
And again, the demand, release the full video. He thinks it's maybe 10 minutes long. Said again, if he had it, he'd put it out there for everyone.
His persistence on the full video. It makes you wonder what he believes it actually shows. Or maybe it's just a bluff because he knows Busby might not be able to release it legally.
That's definitely a possibility we'll touch on later. Okay, so let's switch gears a bit. Stephen A. Smith, Sharpe's colleague, co-host on First Take, he had to say something.
Yeah, he's in a tough spot.
Yeah.
On his YouTube channel, he acknowledged how serious this all is for his friend, for Shannon.
And he made it really clear. ESPN and Disney, they know. They are taking it extremely seriously. Said they're looking into it closely.
He even mentioned talking to Jimmy Pitaro, one of the top guys at Disney,
right,
who confirmed, yeah, they're reviewing it.
So the company is definitely involved monitoring this,
yeah,
which isn't surprising, I guess.
No, not at all. Smith was careful, though. Said he wasn't there. He doesn't have firsthand knowledge, so he can't speak to guilt or innocence personally.
Right. He pointed out, look, this is a civil case, not criminal, but he did highlight that $50 million figure again.
And he mentioned the reports that Sharpe apparently met the accuser back in 2023. She would have been, what, 19 then?
Yeah, 19. That age detail might become relevant later, depending on how the relationship developed.
Smith kind of laid out the conflict. Sharpe strongly denying everything the accuser, through Busby, making these serious claims.
He admitted feeling torn about Sharpe's response. Like, he gets wanting to defend yourself, but releasing those really explicit texts, he found that uncomfortable.
Yeah, you can see why. It's a risky move, right?
Yeah.
It might not play out the way Sharpe's team hoped in terms of public opinion, or even legally.
Smith said he has spoken to Shannon, who emphatically proclaims his innocence. He hoped, in a perfect world, the case gets dropped, Sharpe moves on.
But he also questioned the strategy, like using terms like shakedown so publicly, especially given Sharpe's job at ESPN. Might not be the wisest move, professionally speaking.
He pretty much said his main reason for even talking about it was their professional relationship. And he confirmed, yeah, people at ESPN are considering the potential impact on Sharpe's job.
So the stakes are incredibly high for Sharpe, professionally. It's not just a personal legal battle. His whole platform could be affected.
Okay, let's bring in another perspective. Ticket TV on YouTube. They had a different take on Stephen A. Smith's comments.
Oh, yeah? What did they say?
Pretty critical, actually. The host felt Smith wasn't really backing Sharpe strongly enough in public, said Smith was maybe afraid of that smoke.
Interesting. Contrasting it with how vocal Smith usually is on other controversies involving public figures.
Exactly. They also brought up Sharpe's own history of, being critical of others, kind of implying maybe he should be ready for the same level of scrutiny himself.
Okay. Did they mention the settlement offer?
They did. They referenced Sharpe's lawyer reportedly saying Sharpe had offered tens of millions to settle.
Tens of tens. So like 20 million, 30 million, a huge amount. If that's true, it really makes you think.
Right. Why offer so much if it's just a baseless shakedown? But the fact it was apparently refused is maybe even more significant.
Yeah, turning down that kind of money suggests the accuser either feels she has a very strong case, or maybe it's not just about money for her, or both.
Ticket TV really highlighted the accuser's claim from the lawsuit, that she told Sharpe on January 2nd specifically that it wasn't consensual anymore.
That's a key date. If true, it directly counters any argument that prior consensual acts implied ongoing consent.
They also mentioned a specific text message she allegedly sent him about him not using a condom during anal sex, again, challenging the consent narrative around that time.
Those kinds of specific details, if they can be proven, are powerful. They call them receipts for a reason.
The Ticket TV host speculated that, yeah, she must have receipts, given the $50 ask and refusing that big settlement. They also brought up Busby's claim about having more damning audio.
And the idea that Sharpe could get fired if that audio came out.
Yep. And they repeated the allegation about Sharpe approaching her in a gym when she was 19, being persistent, building that narrative of maybe a power imbalance.
So Ticket TV's take is pretty heavily leaning towards the accuser having a strong hand here.
Seems that way. They argued Sharpe should have just stayed quiet, like Skip Bayless apparently does in controversies. Silence is golden, maybe.
Instead of fighting it so publicly.
Right. They reported Busby saying they have a video that's extremely problematic for Sharpe, and it will be shown in court.
Okay, so not necessarily released publicly, but used in the legal proceedings.
Exactly. They laid out that timeline, too. contact with Sharpe's team back in early February, talks, then mediation for over 6 weeks.
Wow, 6 weeks of mediation failed.
Apparently. Ended with that incredibly significant offer being refused, and then boom, the lawsuit was filed.
That suggests they really tried to resolve it privately first, but couldn't find common ground.
Ticket TV also flagged the allegation that Sharpe's lawyer might have breached confidentiality by releasing Jane Doe's name, number, and those private messages.
Which, if true, could have legal repercussions on its own.
They quoted Busby describing Sharpe's conduct as showing a pattern of narcissism, manipulation, coerce, and control. Strong words. And reiterated Busby has multiple audios, hinting more could leak.
And they saw Stephen A.'s cautiousness as basically confirming Sharpe's ESPN job is shaky.
That was their interpretation, yeah. Now, the Ticket TV hosts did offer their own theory.
Okay. Separate from reporting, just their opinion.
Yeah. They personally believe it was all, their words, freaky deaky 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 and consensual. But it went bad after Sharpe's Instagram Live incident with that other woman. Like maybe Jane Doe got jealous or felt disrespected.
So speculating on the motive behind the lawsuit turning sour.
Right. And they pointed to Sharpe's lawyer supposedly admitting the relationship became transactional at some point, Sharpe paying her.
Okay. A transactional relationship adds another layer. Was it payment for silence? Or just part of an arrangement? That's unclear.
They repeated the tens of millions settlement offer figure, and again speculated she refused because she has strong evidence tape, texts, audio.
Makes sense. If you think you can win much more or achieve another goal in court, you might turn down even a huge settlement.
Ticket TV also mentioned Busby claiming Sharpe's lawyer falsely accused her of editing a video and that she actually insisted Sharpe watch it.
Interesting twist there.
And they made a good point about why Busby probably won't release a sex tape publicly. It's generally illegal.
Right. Which could make Sharpe's demand to release the full video seem a bit, disingenuous, maybe. Like he knows Busby likely can't or won't do it publicly.
That was their suggestion. They ended by quoting Busby saying something like, although Jane Doe never referred any video or multiple audios, Shannon is done.
Oof. Pretty definitive statement from the lawyer.
Okay, one more source. HYPE plus SISM. Let's see how their perspective lines up or differs.
Right. What did HYPE plus focus on?
They confirmed the basics, $50 million suit, the allegations. They detailed Sharpe's initial response, the X-rated text messages meant to prove consent.
And Busby's planned statement leading to the audio clip release.
Yep. They included that quote about choking and explained Busby's reasoning again. It was a direct response to Sharpe's lawyer releasing texts from before the alleged assault to discredit his client.
Did HYPE Plus mention the context of the relationship?
They did. They highlighted the reports of a prior consensual dominant subservient relationship, which they noted could mean the choke comment was potentially part of that dynamic, not necessarily a threat in the usual sense.
That's a really important nuance. Language can mean different things in different contexts, especially BDSM or kink contexts. But crucially, past consent doesn't equal future consent.
Absolutely. HYPE Plus also mentioned Sharpe's demand for the full conversation.
And they confirmed Sharpe's lawyer naming Gabriela Zuniga as Jane Doe.
Yes. And quoted Lenny Davis again, calling it a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe.
Did HYPE Plus give examples of the texts?
They did. Some specifics, like allegedly asking to be choked with a dog collar, expressing a desire for a big black baby, and they noted the dates October 2023, August 2024.
Okay, so providing concrete examples of that graphic, consensual communication history. But again, emphasizing the dates are before the alleged assault period.
Right. HYPE Plus explained Davis's argument. See, these texts show it was consensual, graphic, often initiated by her.
And the social media reaction.
HYPE Plus mentioned that too. People apparently identifying Gabriela as non-black based on the texts, some speculating about race play or Sharpe having an interracial kink.
So the texts definitely sparked a lot of online discussion and interpretation. Maybe not all of it helpful to Sharpe's case.
Yeah, HYPE Plus included some user comments, people questioning Sharpe's judgment in releasing the texts, how it made them see him differently.
It shows how releasing private stuff can backfire, even if you think it proves your point.
HYPE Plus also circled back to Lauren Laroa asking Busby about more audio. Busby repeated he's not trying the case in the press, only released the audio clip to counter Davis's move, and questioned the context of the texts released by Sharpe's team.
So even with that dominant subservient context mentioned, HYPE Plus emphasized the audio clip's meaning is still unclear without the full conversation.
Exactly. And they ended by saying Sharpe's insistence on the full audio could suggest there really is more to the story than what's out there now.
Okay, so HYPE plus seems to present the complexities, the conflicting interpretations, maybe a bit more neutrally than Ticket TV.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So let's try and sort of wrap our heads around this. We've got these starkly opposing narratives.
Definitely. Sharp side, shakedown, it was consensual. Here are texts to prove it, release the full video.
Accuser side. Serious allegations, consent was withdrawn, here's disturbing audio, we have more evidence, he offered millions to settle, and we refused.
The interpretations of the evidence we do have, the text, the audio clip, are completely different depending on who you listen to.
And that settlement offer, the tens of millions that was reportedly turned down, that really hangs in the air, doesn't it? It complicates the simple shakedown narrative.
It really does. It suggests, at minimum, Sharpe's team saw a significant risk in going to trial. This whole situation, it just throws a spotlight on how messy relationships can get, especially under the public eye.
And how digital communication, texts, audio, video, it creates this trail that can be used, interpreted, and maybe manipulated by either side. The speed is intense, too.
Yeah, the way narratives can be shaped and reshaped almost instantly online is wild.
So thinking about everything we've covered from these sources, the really explicit texts, that chilling audio snippet, the huge settlement offer being rejected, the competing claims, what do you think might be the underlying complexities here? What are the motivations we might not be seeing?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe the $50 million question here. Is it purely about money? Is it about power dynamics? Hurt feelings? Seeking justice for a genuine wrong? Probably a mix of things.
And what does this whole unfolding drama tell us about just navigating relationships, intimacy, and trying to manage your public image when everything can potentially leak or be spun in this digital age? It's definitely something to chew on.